Count it off. 1, 2, 3. Good evening. We're so happy that you could be with us tonight. We have a wonderful guest speaker tonight and a friend of many of us here at the OSMA Alliance. And just to let everybody know, we're recording this so that we can put it on our website. Before I introduce Gretchen, just a little bit about the Ohio State Medical Association Alliance. We are spouses and partners of physicians who support each other as well as healthcare issues that are before us. We meet regularly, so if you are interested in becoming involved, we would love to have you at our meetings. I'm Kathy Harder. Oh, excuse me. You can reach us by alliance@osma.org. I'm Kathy Harder. I'm president of the Ohio State Medical Association Alliance this year. I'm glad that you can be with us tonight. Gretchen, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you've been a friend to all of us at the Ohio State Medical Association for years, and we thank you for being a past president of the Alliance. And just wanted to share with you and everyone a brief bio of Gretchen. So Gretchen is the founder and executive director of Cleveland Angels. This is an opportunity that led to lead Cleveland Angels to educate about the needs of children in foster care and advocate for better outcomes and changes that she was definitely eager to take on. Today, they celebrate successes of Cleveland Angels and support its giving to the Cleveland area, which has been great. The most recent advocacy has been to educate about the dangers of opioid misuse and its importance on children in the foster care system. Gretchen will talk about her work with the Ohio State Medical Association Alliance and the AMA Alliance and how it gave her the tools to start this wonderful program for children in the Cleveland area. Gretchen earned a bachelor's in science from Purdue University in retail management and her master's in education from the Ohio State University. Also, she is married to her college sweetheart, BJ. Together, they have moved throughout the Midwest to complete their education and training. The last stop on their journey was Cleveland, and they have been in the community since 2004 and raising their 3 children. So this evening, we thank you for being with us. How we're going to do tonight, which is kind of fun for me, is just to do some questions back and forth, and so that we can get to know Cleveland Angels and obviously get to know more about you as well too. So let's start it off by telling us a little bit about Cleveland Angels.
Sure. Well, Cleveland Angels is a chapter of a national nonprofit. So I didn't come up with the idea. We just brought it here to Cleveland. The organization was founded in Austin, Texas, and they developed the programs there to support families who are fostering, as well as a mentorship program for youth who are in foster care to help them to have better outcomes. The challenges that youth face when they are in foster care or, approaching aging out of foster care without a permanent family situation, are just really unfathomable to most of us. And I think that, getting mentors in place to help these kids to be able to find success on the other side if they haven't found a permanent family situation, if they haven't been able to reunify with their own family, or if they haven't been adopted while they were in the foster care system. So, we see kids who are aging out of foster care. About 1 in 5 will become homeless right away. They don't have any place to go. And, there's about 80% of the population in prison have experienced foster care at some time in their life. So there are a lot of challenges, poverty, et cetera, that our kids are facing. And so our goal is to get healthy, positive role models in their lives to help them navigate through situations that they may face, so that they can get stable footing under them, and be able to see beyond their current circumstances and find success.
Yeah, it's certainly changing lives by this program and helping kids and looking at the real statistics that are out there. When you mentioned the prisons and so forth, it just and how that has touched their lives and so forth and why they're there. But also, uh, how did you become involved and interested in foster care? Just from the beginning, like your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah. So I first learned about foster care when I was 10 years old. My dad was working, supervising some youth in a government program, and one of the youth happened to be Anne, who she was living in a local children's home, and they had announced that they were going to close that children's home, and they were trying to find homes for those kids, to be able to go into a family setting. So my dad came and talked to my mom and my brother and me and asked what we thought. And, even at 10 years old, I couldn't imagine not having a mom and dad and a home to go to every night. And why wouldn't we open up our home? And so my brother and I were in favor of that, although, it's life changing. And I think that being 10 years old and suddenly having a 16-year-old sister living in your bedroom with you, that's a big change. And there are a lot of things that children who've experienced the trauma that brought them into foster care, and also the trauma that they experience of some instability while they're in foster care, that comes along with them and it enters into the family. And so, that was my early experience with foster care. And while much of the time was really a positive experience for me, there were a lot of hard times. Having that, things that I was introduced to that I had never, been introduced to, being only 10 years old. And um, things happened in our family. My mom had to have surgery, and she was really primarily the person who was providing emotional support and tutoring for Anne when she lived with us. And since she wasn't available, and we had my grandmother come and stay with us, they just thought that that was a lot to ask. And so at that point, we had to have her move to a different home. And she said to me, she's like, your parents think that it's my fault that your mom has to have surgery. And I knew that that wasn't the case, but why
Hmm.
wouldn't she feel that way? Why wouldn't she feel rejected? Why wouldn't she feel blamed? Because my brother and I didn't have to move. We stayed there. She was the
Hmm.
one that had to move. And so really, when I found out about the programs that Austin Angels had developed, much of what we do with the whole family support is, we get those mentors in place, and we also support the entire fostering family. So the program is such that everybody in the home is treated equally. The children who are biological in the home and adopted in the home and who are in foster care all get the love and attention of the volunteers that come into the home, as well as the parents have somebody to talk to who know that they can call on these volunteers who've said yes to helping them with
Hmm.
this, fostering journey, and they can keep saying yes. So when I heard about this, I thought, wow, if we had had something like that in place,
Hmm.
if Anne had had a mentor who could step in and do the mentoring for her, the homework help with her,
Hmm.
the emotional support. And we also had, a group of people who would drop off meals and all those things. And of course, you have friends who are going to step in and do some of those things, but it's just an extra level of, I'm here to support you so you can keep this child in your home, so that this child can feel safety and love and consistency, because about half of homes who say yes to fostering will close their home within the first year because of, you have personal family things that come up, or you don't realize what it's going to be like to have court dates and visits and how that impacts everyone in the home. So that was really, really spoke to me when I learned about these programs, and how if we had had something like this in place, It would have been really helpful. And so why wouldn't we want to help provide that for other families who have said yes to bringing kids into their home to provide that safety and security?
That's a great way to say that because it's a wraparound services for everybody in the whole entire family. And not to have this unrealistic picture of what this is going to be like, that it's some TV
Yeah,
show, the family sitcom or something of that sort. These are real issues for everybody in the whole entire family. So I love how
right.
you approach that and how it spoke to you, this program that would fit this model that you were looking for.
Yeah.
So when did you begin to think about starting the program? Uh, like Cleveland Angels.
Well, I do credit the Alliance for that because I was president-elect for the OSMAA. And when you become president, you get to choose what your health promotion project is going to be. What do you want to educate the community about? How do you want to spend your year, advocating? And we had done a lot of work within the Alliance educating about drug take back. We had talked a lot about the opioid epidemic. And it just struck me that we weren't talking about the kids that were being impacted. We're talking about, the adults and how we can, try to get the drug take back and, get that communicated out and check your bathroom cabinets, make sure you don't have things in there that you don't need. And that's all really important. But I just, there had been some news headlines and different things. I'm like, well, that stuff is so important and we really should focus on that. But also there are kids who this is impacting their day to day. You know, Addiction is a big cause of kids coming into foster care, and it's one of the hardest things to rehabilitate in order to get kids to be able to go back with their family. And I would say almost every child that we have come into our program, um, who's a baby, oftentimes straight from the hospital, many times are detoxing. Many times they are in, the NICU because they're withdrawing, and then the family who takes them into their home, they're helping them through that withdrawal. So the obstacles that those kids are facing from the minute they're born, it's really significant. And I just think that, while we need to try to curb that and try to educate, we also need to take care of our community that are experiencing the impact of this on their life right now.
I'm glad that you mentioned the opioid crisis. And can you just drill down just a little bit more into the impact that you're seeing now, and then how your organization is helping in that issue too? Is it educating parents so that when a child comes into your home, helping them through that, and just all those wraparound services?
Yeah. I would say from our kind of role with this, it's more on the side, like I said, of helping the kids and the families as they're going through that, educating our volunteers of why a family is facing some of the things that they're facing. Kids will react very differently to situations based on things that they've been through like that, even in utero, and when they are little and going through withdrawal symptoms, etc. But trying to help volunteers to understand how they can be supportive of the family. Oftentimes a baby needs to be held all day long. Like, you can go help hold the baby while mom helps take care of other kids, or dad is doing something. So I would say our our kind of role in that isn't so much, we're not lobbying, we're not kind of like educating the community in the way that the Alliance has the opportunities to make an impact in that way. It's more of that hands-on, being in the moment and being present and providing that support, because it is really hard. I mean, kids who have been born addicted, They have a lifelong impact. And, even I am close with someone who adopted her daughter and she was addicted when she was born, and her pain receptors, like, she doesn't feel pain the way other kids feel pain. Um, because that was just, she was impacted. So she could have a gash on her arm and be like, oh, I think something's wrong. But she doesn't feel pain the way others do. So just kind of, helping to empower our volunteers to understand what these parents are really doing for these kids.
Mhm. Again, I appreciate that, you being the High State Medical Association president and with for the alliance and being president during that time. How did you begin a part of the alliance? How did that help to get you inspired to start an organization like, Cleveland Angels? Because you kind of need those tools and things
Yeah,
of that sort.
yeah, for sure. Well, ironically, it's I when I said I would become president or be president-elect, I was wavering on whether I had time to do that. But, we get involved in things because we believe they're important, and that's why I got involved with the Alliance. And through that, when I said I wanted to help educate about the impact of this crisis on our kids, I was asked, how are you going to do that? And I said, I don't really know. And that's when I found out about National Angels, the kind of parent organization that developed these programs. And so I said I wanted to do something that was going to help kids. And so I also decided to found this organization here in Cleveland at the same time that I was becoming the president for the OSMAA. But what I have to say, I think about being in the OSMAA and the AMA Alliance, I I had the tools and the skills to feel like I could approach this. I had to form a board. I had to, get people in place and, plan a budget and do a strategic plan, and all of the things that we learned to do and do together through being involved in the alliance directly applied to what I was doing. I was given opportunities through the AMA Alliance to do national strategic planning. And that definitely helped me to be able to sit down and do a strategic plan for what we wanted to do here, how we were going to approach it, how to run a board meeting, and just basically how to rally a community around something. And I do think that not only did the Alliance make me stop and think about what I wanted to focus on through becoming, president and having the opportunity to have a health promotion project. It also gave me those skills and tools that I had, been being equipped with since we were in residency. So, I became a member of, I was in Iowa at the time. I became a member of the Alliance in 2001. So I founded Cleveland Angels in 2018. So I had a good 17 years of, getting to be a part of and watch incredible leaders build and run, these organizations. And I really think that was helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tell us about the early days with Cleveland Angels and how it's grown.
Yeah, so in order to found Cleveland Angels, we had to raise a little bit of money, and we had to have a founding board. And we went to Austin and we got trained, what we were going to do. We were only the third chapter. We had had a pilot chapter. Well, the founding chapter was in Austin. The pilot outside of Austin chapter um, piloted in 2017. So they were like, let's see if this is replicable. Let's see if we can do this somewhere else. And it went really well. And they decided to open up chapter applications nationally. So that's when I found out about it. So we were only the third chapter, and we were the first chapter outside of Texas. And so while we were learning how to do this here in Cleveland, we were helping the team at our home office in Austin to learn how to build this organization outside of Texas, all of the things that it takes. And nonprofit, it is a business and you're running a business. And I have to say, I'm kind of a jump in the deep end kind of person. And I was like, oh wow, I have to raise some money.
Yeah.
And we we're like, okay, well, we raised our initial funds to have Austin help us get our website up and running and all of those things, but it's like so much bigger than that. And I think we were all a little naive to that. We didn't have any staff for the first year. We ran everything through our board, so it was a full working board. um, and it's a lot of work to start something from the ground up like that, even with the support, that we had. I can't really imagine doing it from, square one without that support that we had. But, if you're passionate enough about something, you can always figure it out, right? That's what we always say. We're like,
Yeah.
well, we're just going to figure it out. And so we were an all hands on deck board. There were 6 of us who founded the organization. And then we started growing our board and growing our volunteer base and raising some money so that we could hire staff, because it's an awful lot, as many of you know, to put in all of the hours that it takes to run an organization without staff. So we hired our first case manager in 2019, early 2019. So we were up and running for about a year before we had staff, and now we've grown. So we have 9 people on staff right now.
How has your board developed? Because our alliance, we develop boards, each year and so forth. Did you go out and look for your new board first? Were they friends maybe you have worked with before? And then how has the board changed to today?
Yeah, our founding board were just women that I knew pretty much in my community, and I threw it out there to them. And it's interesting how when you become interested and start sharing about something like this, foster care specifically in this situation, I had a friend that I'd been friends with her since 2004, so 14 years. And she's like, oh, wow, I can't believe you asked me to do this. She had just stopped teaching. And so I knew she had a heart for kids, and we had kids the same age. And I said, would you be interested in helping me do this? Because, I know that you care a lot about kids, and so do I. And she's like, wow, my grandparents took in 100 babies, and I used to go help with the babies. So over the years, they fostered 100 children. And I was like, I've known you for 14 years. I never knew that. It just had never come up in conversation. And then someone else that I asked, I kind of thought she was adopted, but I didn't know her story. And she had been raised in a kinship situation. And so she's like, yes, I think this is important. So I do think, sometimes, sometimes you are just led to ask the right people. And
Mm-hmm.
we really did have a good group to get us started, and, really good skill sets. One of my friends that I asked, she liked to plan events, so she helped to plan fundraisers, and so none of that founding board is still on our board, but we've grown and we're trying to, those of us who started it were kind of based in the same community on the west side of Cleveland. And anybody who knows anything about Cleveland, the east and the west don't mix very well. So we're trying to like grow, because we're serving the entire greater Cleveland area. So Cuyahoga County is where Cleveland is, and all the counties that touch around Cuyahoga County, we have children and families in those counties too. So we're just trying to, you know, get our footprint a little bit bigger as far as, the funding piece is so important. And how can we get volunteers, and how can we get funding by networking throughout the city? So we have a board now of 10, and they have different backgrounds, and we're always kind of recruiting to see who has a connection to what we're doing, a passion for what we're doing, who we just started a young professionals board this year to help us to, engage some of that community. Young professionals make great mentors. They're great, advocates for the mission. So we're just, trying to expand in that way and do some board development in that way. And then hopefully some of the young professionals will
Mhm.
one day apply to have a full board seat. So
Yeah, very good. Very good insight for that too, as well too. Yeah. And then also during all this, the pandemic is happening. And then also I think you have one child graduating from high school or something of that sort, but you had a lot going on. But
yeah,
referring to the pandemic, how do you start a business during that time?
yeah,
And also you're president of the OSMA Alliance at that time
right.
too.
I mean, again, we just all did what we had to do, didn't we? I mean, it was really hard to imagine a relationship-based organization being able to be successful when all they were saying is don't be with people. So that's the whole basis of what we do is show up for people and help them. But, the needs that we saw were really great. And so we kind of shifted really to meet those needs. Um, I don't know how much you remember or were aware, kids who were born, they were getting them out of the hospital as quickly as they could. And oftentimes, like I said, kids will be in the hospital a little bit longer. There's a couple of situations, just trying to manage some of the health situations that they have, but also, trying to find family because a really important part of when kids come into care, they really try to find a kinship situation. So somebody who is a family member who is able to take them into their home. But they were just like trying to get kids out of the hospital as quickly as possible because they didn't really know what that situation was going to be. Everybody was a little, we were all a little just concerned about um, being in the hospital. What is that going to do? Is there going to be infection that would spread? So they were, um, our county hospital was just placing kids with families who don't usually have babies. And they were saying, would you take this baby? Yes, we'll take the baby, but maybe they're not usually, set up to do that. So they needed cribs and mattresses and, all of the newborn baby things. So we did a call to action. We called it the Angel Relief Fund, and we put a call to action out into the community that we needed these items that the Metro Health hospital was saying that they needed help with. And between drop-offs and donated funds, we had about $20,000 worth of diapers and wipes and formula and bottles and, newborn baby things and beds that we were able to help get distributed. So that's not something that we tend to do, like that kind of one-time thing where we are so relationship-based. We sometimes meet immediate needs, but not on that scale
Hmm.
because our goal is always to get volunteers in place and they're able to help meet the needs of the family. So that was a little different and hugely impactful. Channel 5 News covered it and really helped us to get that word spread. And then we also have families who are caring for medically fragile kids. So they were really concerned about even anybody going out of the house and possibly bringing something back in to one of these kids who is medically fragile. So, and formula was hard to find. So we spent an awful lot of time going from drugstore to drugstore trying to find these really specific, formulas for kids and dropping them off on porches. So there was a lot of porch drop off kind of thing. So, our family support program is called the Love Box program, and it's basically you're showing up with some practical things in a box of,
Hmm.
and the first family that the Austin team supported, the foster mom was like, it's just like getting a box of love every time you come. And so that's how the program was named, the Love Box program. So our volunteers that we already had matched with families, they would, pick up things that the family needed. They'd, distance themselves in the front yard. How are you doing? Is everybody okay? Is there anything else that you need? So just trying to maintain those relationships. We had mentors meet up with kids on Zoom, just trying to, do what we had to do, kind of like we all did. But um, I am proud of us that, with all of our fundraisers having to be canceled and things, we made the adjustments we needed to make, and we're able to survive that. So, I think that it was a good time for everybody to roll up their sleeves and just do what they needed to do.
It was a great community effort, and it really
Mhm.
showed that no family was left by themselves and feeling
Right.
alone and getting those boxes on their porch. Again, I could totally see that making you
Yeah.
feel
Yep.
welcomed and like we're doing okay.
Yep.
Because it would have been very difficult to go from pharmacy to pharmacy trying to find that special.
Yeah.
And how can you leave a little one?
I know.
Yeah.
You don't
So
want them to possibly, pick something up or somebody to bring something home. So, yeah, our case managers and, I was on the phone and texting and just double checking, everybody that we had on our wait list and our people in our programs. We were just trying to, regularly check in with them, see how they were doing. So,
that's great news. And then anything else you wanted to touch on about just community support? Maybe they're not the person that drops off the boxes and things of that sort, but just people knowing about it throughout these years and of you all being out there and things you're hearing from the community.
uh, I mean, our biggest way to recruit volunteers is word of mouth. And so people who have participated in the program share with others, or, we always say everybody can do something. So some people have time to give, some people have financial support that they can give, even, within that love box group. So we have volunteers that come together to support a family. And so some people say, well, I don't really have a lot of extra time right now, but I can help you to buy those things that you're going to take that family needs. And we don't just say, okay, it's March, we're going to bring these things to the family. We know what the volunteers know what to bring because they've talked to mom and dad, or they, know
Mhm.
um the interests of the kids. So they're able to bring, we call it intentional giving. It's like very specific to each
Mhm.
family. And so, in that situation, those are program volunteers. And last year we had 126 program volunteers. So they're people who are, have been matched with a family or with a youth as a mentor, who are going to show up and not only provide, extra love and support, but really help to meet practical needs. And some families have higher practical needs than other families do. Everybody has emotional needs, but some families, especially we find, our kinship families who suddenly, took in, I don't know, 4 or 5 grandkids into their home, and they didn't expect for that to happen, but something happened that they were removed
Sure.
from their parents, and so they weren't planning on having these kids in their home, and sometimes they're not financially ready to do that. So we really talk to our volunteers about what they have to give, and match very thoughtfully, to make sure that what a volunteer group has to give financially and of their time matches the needs of the family. So that's really a lot what our case managers do. They're really actively engaged on both sides, and it is a matchmaking process. So that, the word of mouth with that, and we also, our community has been really great as far as, companies getting involved, helping to provide financial support, and also letting us come in and talk to their employees and try to get,
Hmm.
volunteers through the company. So it really is kind of a grassroots thing. It just starts with a few people, and it just starts, spreading out a little bit that way.
Yeah, it's great. It's you mentioned your employees. Can you talk a little bit about what they do and what does your office look like?
Yeah.
It seems like it would be a just ongoing excitement all the time.
Yeah. Well, we have 9 employees right now. We have, in our programs team, so that's our case managers and our program director. we have 3 full-time case managers and a full-time program director, and they're kind of the frontline ones on our team. They're the ones who do what I was talking about. They, talk directly to volunteers. They talk to the families. They do onboarding with the volunteers, ensure the background checks are done and references are called and all of those things, because we're working with a very fragile population. So we have to make sure that all of our volunteers are safe and appropriate. And so they are doing that. And then it doesn't just stop once that match happens. They have ongoing communication with the family and with the volunteers to see, what things are the family facing? Is there any other support? Because they really work with other organizations in the community. We want to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts. We want to bring other community organizations together to help provide that layer of support around the family and volunteers. So the programs team, they're doing such a great job, and are so impactful. We hired a program assistant this past year, and she helps with our community engagement. So she helps connect with companies. We do a holiday outreach where we try to, get something for everybody. And so she works with all those companies that are, collecting items and supporting families in that way with just a little extra something at the
Mhm.
holidays. And a lot of companies like to be involved in that. And then we have a big community picnic where we invite all of our families and volunteers, everybody who's involved in that, in our Cleveland Angels community, together and do a summer event with them. So she is leading that. So, just a really great support. It's really hard to do all of those things while you're doing the one-on-one support that our case
Mhm.
managers do. So we saw that need. I'm serving as the executive director, and then I have a finance and operations assistant who helps me. And she's part-time. We have a part-time development director who is writing grants and, also helping with working with our corporate support as well. Um, and then we have a marketing person who works
Mhm.
part-time. So if you're following us on social media, you'll see a lot of the things that she does and helps us with our, all of our print materials, our impact reports, and all of those things. So
Mhm.
every single person that I've been able to bring on, it's been like another like sigh, deep breath for me, because in the beginning I was doing a lot of those things. So to have all those people in place has been really so great. And I think we have a really good team. So
Yeah, that sounds like a wonderful team.
yeah.
Just emphasizing on the grant writing, I think that's something that through the Alliance, everyone has had an opportunity to touch on, either if you're applying for one through the AMA Alliance or something of that sort, or in your community. That's just a great way. I can see it a couple different ways. It's just that the community gets to know you a little bit better just because you've
Mhm.
applied for something and maybe you got it or didn't get it, but you become a little bit more known, and
Yeah.
anything that how you've grown with that over the years too with grant writing.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about that. And the person that we have working with us in development, she's been a friend of mine for a long time, and I knew she had done grant writing. So early on, when I was trying to do those things, I just reached out to her. I'm like, "Will you read this? I don't really know what I'm doing. Can you help me out?" And so she would help me. And I'm like, "Do you want to join our board?" And she's like, "No, I'll just help you." And then finally, she was like, "Okay, I'll join the board." And then a couple months in, she's like, "Okay, I can see that there's a need here." And we were at that time looking for kind of a combination marketing and development person. So she's like, "I can do the development part." So we hired a part-time marketing person and a part-time development person because that was where her background was. And we've done pretty well with grants. We have, you want to be pretty well diversified in your funding, and we've been about a third special events, about a third that we get from, general donations and corporate, and about a third grants. So, it's interesting that process of grant writing, as I learned early on, it's interesting how some foundations want you to be funded by someone else before they will fund you, which seems counterintuitive to me. But that is really how it works. So we were fortunate to get some funding early on from the Cleveland Foundation, which gave us a good reputation that, if some of these bigger funders have vetted you and will fund you, then some of the other foundations will fund you. So that was my grant 101. I was like, really? Why? Well, that makes no sense to me. Why? Like, okay, well, if you have funding, then we'll fund you. I was like, but I mean, I kind of get it, but they don't want to be the first ones, I guess, and they want to see that you
Mhm.
have other
That's great
foundations.
advice. Yeah, exactly. Great advice for sure. So, what do you see the future with Cleveland Angels? Like, what's the next horizon for that? And how many people can you, families and so forth, can you support at one time? I guess
Well,
that's two questions. Sorry about that.
yeah, it's really, I mean, our big dream and goal is to serve every child and family that are experiencing foster care. And that's not only here locally, that's nationally. That's our big dream and goal, our North Star, if you will. But it's really depends on how many case managers I can hire. So the funding part is, the more funding I get, the more people I can hire, the more, families and youth that we can bring into the program. So um, it's it's really kind of the sky's the limit, just based on how many, people we can fund to
Mhm.
do this work and get out into the community and tell the story more and get more people on deck. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you're feeling really comfortable with the pattern and the approach, and so if you just kind of keep on that strategy, then the course will kind of lay itself
Yeah.
the
Yep.
groundwork. So that
I
sounds good.
think I think we've are at the point where we've figured out what to do.
Hmm.
Just a matter of, organically growing in that way. And when case managers fill up their caseload, we kind of see when we need to hire an additional case
Hmm.
manager. So,
Hmm.
yep.
Great. Good. Well, tell us about your family too. And I wanted to see, hear a little bit more about their involvement in what you're doing and how they're doing and so forth, with your kids and things like that. And because I'm sure the day they heard about it, they were like, okay, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of joke like when one of us signs up to do something, we all sign up to do something, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, well, of course BJ is going to be at the event and helping because that's
That's
just the way we roll.
right. Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, from the beginning it's been like you mentioned earlier, my middle child was a senior in high school when I started this. So I had one in college, a senior in high school, and then Adrian was in 8th grade. So, she probably doesn't remember a lot about it, not ever, like what was it like before Cleveland Angels, but they've all been really involved in, any of our activities. And I've been in a love box group since the very beginning, and they've participated in that. BJ has just become a mentor, so he's participating in the program in that way. And then Alexandra, our oldest, she is applying to PsyD programs right now, and she specifically wants to work with kids who have experienced trauma. So I think that a lot of what she's learned um, about trauma and the impact that the trauma has on kids has really helped her to narrow down her focus of what she wants to do. So, and she's working right now in a residential treatment center with teens who, you know, many of them are in foster care and, have been in trafficking situations and things that, a lot of our kids experience who are in the foster care system. So, I do think, she and I are able to have some chats about that. And, I think that it probably has kind of, if it didn't spark that interest, it's kind of confirmed that that's what she wants to do. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's very nice. Yeah, because everything, we do, it's impact, positively on your family, and so the things that you pick and choose are quite important, and I think that was a good one for sure. Yeah, and especially with a medical family, sometimes you kind of say, well, let's see what we can pick and choose to fit in,
Mhm.
and many of us just go right at it. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So good
So
for you. Good for you. Well, and then we've got a few minutes left, but also wanted to talk about if people want to get involved, if they want to make donations, what kind of fundraising do you have throughout the year that people could even come to Columbus, or excuse me, to Cleveland for?
yeah.
So, yeah, I think in April 19th, you have
Yeah,
something coming
April
up too.
19th is we have one really big fundraiser. April 19th is the one this year. It's downtown at Windows on the River. We held our event there last year. It was a great night. Really were able to raise a lot of funds to help us. So we do still have some tickets and tables available for that.
Did you have
And
a silent auction too with that, or?
we have a raffle,
Oh,
so that also that will be available online. So if you are following online on our social media, or if you get our emails, that will be announced when the raffle is open. And our theme this year, it's a travel theme. Our tagline is "Let your dreams take flight." So we're kind of, you know, doing some fun things related to that. Um, and we are this year for the first time, if you're following along, if anybody's a golfer, we're going to have a golf tournament this year for the first time. It's going to be end of September. So that will be maybe, I think it's around Paynesville. So maybe out
mm,
kind of, is that still Lake County? I'm not sure.
oh,
Yep.
yeah, sounds like it's Lake County.
Yeah, out that way. So we are in the early planning stages on that. I'm not a golfer. I'm learning a little bit, but people tend to like these events, so we're kind of doing that. And then, as far as another really great way for us to have people be involved is we have a monthly donor program. So it kind of just helps to have a little bit of steady stream, and a lot of people, like, they might be able to do $10 or $20 a month, and it's just kind of a way to, like, have an ongoing
Mm.
way of support. So all of those opportunities are available on our website. It's cleangels.org. Is how you reach us. So between that and then any other community event sort of things, if anybody's in the Cleveland area, there are opportunities. Like I said, we serve kind of the surrounding communities too. We get referrals sometimes there. So we have our Love Box program and Dare to Dream program, and all of that's accessible through the website. It's a great tool that we use. We have a map on the website that shows where there are families and youth waiting. So it's kind of nice to be able to read a little, bio and see if there's a family near you. So
Yeah. Oh, great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate hearing about that. That's good. That's great. Fundraising is always important. It's a great way to bring in lots of money, and it sounds like you've done very well in the past. Last year went quite well, so that was good.
yeah, it was a great night. I'm expecting it to be, our Foster the Future is what we call it. I think it'll be really great this year. And I'm just looking forward. There's just nothing like having everybody in the room and rallying together to help us to further the mission.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure for the Hayes Medical Association Alliance to watch this behind the scenes, and also to participate here and there. We've done some little fundraisers to help
Yeah.
along the way, and at some of our annual meetings, and that's been a great way to participate. And gosh, it'd be great if we got a table there or something too.
That would
Yeah,
be really fun. I would love that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I know it's been really great. The Alliance has been there since the first day that I said I was going to do this and has been incredibly supportive. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate tonight. We have some guests here this evening, and we appreciate that. And if anyone has any questions, we've got a minute or two just to see if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask. So we'll open it up to that as well too. Um, I know we've covered a lot.
And
Yeah.
it's getting darker. I was telling
Oh,
Kathy, I was like, I'm sitting by the window, and isn't it fun that at 7 o'clock it's still light outside? But I'm not in a greatly lit room, so as
oh,
the
you're good. Yeah.
hour has gone on, it's getting a little dark in here.
Yeah. There's a couple of people I can't see at
Yeah,
all.
I didn't turn the light on, so when I turn my camera back on, it's like, oh, it's dark.
Oh, there she is. There she is. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Great. Good. Good. Well, just to close it off, if no one has any other questions, gosh, I just wanted to thank you so much for participating tonight. And thanks for everyone who joined us. We appreciate it. And you'll soon be able to view this on our website, on our programming page. So stay tuned for that. Just a little plug. Next week on the 19th, we have another program called the Family Love Letter. That's also beginning at 7 o'clock. And also our annual meeting will be coming up in April the 25th. That's an evening program that we're having. We've invited Kendra Harvey from the AMA Alliance. They did a survey about physician families, physician spouses. And so we're going to hear about that, which I'm very excited about hearing. And then the next day, we also have the annual meeting continuing. And then we have the AMA Alliance president coming, which is exciting too. So I hope to see everyone come to that as well too. Boy, Gretchen, we're proud of you. You've done an excellent job. And we love watching all this along the way, and you've done a fantastic job. And again, I appreciate tonight you spending time with us to
Thank
give a little
you.
insight about your work, and also a lot of little tidbits can help any organization that you mentioned, just building a board and fundraising and grant writing. And so all that, we can take a little bit of that and go a long way with that too.
Yep.
So again, thank you for tonight, and thank you for everyone who attended too. We appreciate that. So thanks again.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Well, that was great. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So I'll try and end recording and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. That was great.
Fun chatting. Thank you for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
opportunity.
You did a great job. That was super. Yeah. All right. Okay,
All
we'll talk soon.
right. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks again. Take care. Uh-huh. Bye-bye.